Thanks for staying tuned to your station, the Africa Independent Television, and welcome to your program, Security Watch Africa. Like you can see right now, we are this 17th Africa Security Watch Awards Conference and Exhibition has commenced here in the beautiful city, the serene city of Banjul, the capital of the Gambia. It's been a wonderful period being here. Talking and dissecting the issues of security in Africa. Really, it's been so wonderful. Today, we'll be looking at those deep things, those insights into some of the presentations that were made by prominent Africans. When you talk about security, of course, you can't beat them because they know the stuff, they have the experience, they're in it. They have spending their lives making sure that Africans are protected. So today, we'll be giving you snippets from some of their presentations and analysis of what was discussed or what is being discussed. It's been a pleasure, really. We have done the first day and the second day, which communique is being drafted right now as we speak. But I won't be doing this alone because I will have one of those resource persons who are making sure that all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted to ensure that we'll come out with a perfect roadmap for security and safety post-COVID-19 in Africa. So my name still remains Patrick Abambu. Today will just be to let us know what is really happening. It couldn't have been a better place than here, the Gambia. So sit back as we continue with the program today. Welcome back. When you talk security and safety, leadership and governance, you talk about Security Watch Africa. And wherever it is, we'll bring it to you. And that is why we're going around Africa, preaching the gospel of security and safety to all that is concerned. You know, I will unfold the guests we're having just shortly. But, you know, some of the topics, lead presentations and all that, we'll try to at least break it down for you. We'll give you a snippet of the soundbite of what was discussed, and we are going to look at it and analyze it. So it's going to be really a wonderful time with doing this program and looking at this program with my brother, the man who he has been on this program. He has been talking with you. You know his heartbeat. You know what he can say. And he's very, very passionate about issues of security. I'm talking about my brother. He's coming on set with me to me now. I'm talking about my brother, Suleiman Ubah-Gaya. Suleiman Ubah-Gaya, like you know, he's not a strange face on this program. He's here with us in the Gambia. He's been of great resource in making sure that this event is succeed. Right now, working on the communique to ensure that the roadmap for security and safety, good governance and leadership is well mapped out for Africans. Again, like you know him, he is the chief executive of the Sky Limit Media Group and the former deputy national president of the Guild, Nigerian Guild of Editors. He has traveled wide preaching the need for journalism to be practiced with ethics and the way it should be. So it's a pleasure to have you on, join us on this program. We're excited having you in the Gambia. I'm sure it's been a wonderful experience, indeed. Really. Okay, well, we're going to be continuing with the discussions with him. After this time out, just take a snippet. Let's give you a snippet of one of the discussions that was made by our conference faculty, talking about Professor Henry Fouché of Stellenbosch University. Then we are going to kick off from there.
There's a need for champions within agencies and the legislature to identify and tenaciously address as high priority identified shortcomings. His Excellency used the same example. He said, once the time is right, nothing is impossible. There must be a sense of ownership. We need a person in each department to take ownership, to be robust in establishing we have a gap in our legislation, in our agency to do X, and work on that. My experience is also that I've been to many conferences in states on our continent, arranged by, amongst others, the Americans, and the officers who are present there network with each other, get to know each other. Now, I know after this conference who I can contact, and I know who's the champion. And my experience said to me when we were at those conferences, you could identify the champions because they were the go-to person. You want to know about the gap in Gambia? Go to.
Yes, welcome back. Like you had there, that is Professor Henry Fisher of Stellenbosch University. He's a man who has, for more than 40 years, have been preaching safe waterways, maritime security, and what a lovely time, because the blue economy is the next phase of economy drive for Africa and the whole world. Really, all the mineral resources, the petroleum, the oil, and all this will fail. But the blue economy, a lot is going there, so there's need to pump in more security and more attention to our maritime industry. And that's why we're talking about maritime security. And Nigeria, I must say, is taking a lead on that. So, still with my brother here. Yeah, it's a pleasure, like I said, to welcome you on the program. And thank you for being with us on this program. But now let's start from this presentation by the professor from South Africa, our own conference faculty chairman. Then from there, let's talk about what you think about the presentation by the Nigeria's Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Awal Gambo. So can you tell us?
Okay, let me start with the presentation, a very excellent presentation by the Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Awal Gambo. Like I did say, it was a very excellent presentation. His paper was on preventing piracy in African waters, the role of the Nigerian Navy experience. Until this conference, I never knew, even though I knew Admiral Awal Gambo to be a thoroughbred professional, I never knew the Nigerian Navy under his stewardship has achieved as much as it has, recording unprecedented achievements in a space of less than 2 years. So it's so surprising that that much have been achieved. But obviously, I think the Admiral is publicity shy, informing why probably he has not marketed his achievements in the public space. But his presentation was very excellent. And like you said, rightly said, the blue water economy is the main thing now for Africa. I remember attending a conference in Morocco, in Rabat, Morocco, in June, about the countries, African countries bordering the Atlantic Ocean. This talk about blue economy was predominant at that conference. So, even at the conference being organized by the Security Watch Africa initiative, at least 2 major papers were presented on maritime security, piracy, as the one presented by the Chief of Naval Staff.
Some people were saying we should have brought the Nigerian NIMASA, MPA to be part of it because the quality of the presentation.
Yeah, probably next time that can be done. But I believe the Chief of Naval Staff has represented the entire maritime industry in Nigeria. And of course, this is not about Nigeria. So many other security chiefs from different parts of Africa were in attendance. And we really have benefited from their deep insight.
The Nigerian Navy anti-piracy operations were geared towards creating a safe and more secure maritime space for commerce to thrive. Operation Tsareteku is a dedicated naval operation activated in April 2016 to contain threats of piracy and related attacks on shipping, as well as oil and gas installations. The operation, which has been effective, requires maintenance of credible presence in identified piracy-prone areas at sea and supported by aggressive patrols of the Nigeria's maritime domain to curb piracy and maritime crimes. It is noteworthy to state that 11 piracy incidents were recorded in 2021 within the Gulf of Guinea compared to 44 in 2020. Similarly, there was a decline in pirates attacks and sea robbery in Nigeria's waters, where the country reported only 11 pirate incidents and sea robberies in 2021 compared to 22 pirate incidents and 16 sea robberies in 2020. Notably, Operation Areteku resulted in steep decline in piracy in the region. This was attested to by the International Maritime Bureau Piracy Report of 14 July last year, which indicated the lowest total of piracy and sea robbery against ships in 27 years. This report was corroborated by the Defense Web, which noted further decline in reported cases of piracy and armed attacks against shipping. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this eventually led to delisting Nigeria from list of piracy-prone countries as conveyed in the International Maritime Bureau report of 3rd March this year.
You had him there talk about, but now as we continue with the program, let's go to the next presentation. There's so many that people couldn't just pick which one is the best, but as we build up, let's look at, because everything pointed towards leadership, good governance, even after some presentations were made. The Chief of Army Staff was also made well represented. Yeah, the Nigerian Army was well represented with so many major generals, led by Major General Victor Ezugu, who is in charge of the Infantry Command Center. He talked about what the Nigerian Army is doing. Hey, what did you get out of his own presentation too?
You see, I'm one person who is seriously fascinated about security matters, informing why, for the first time in the last maybe 15 years, I couldn't attend the All Nigerian Editors Conference presently taking place in Owerri. You know, it's by coincidence, the two conferences are taking place, one in Banjul, the other in Owerri, Nigeria. So I am seriously impressed with the presentation made by the Nigerian Chief of Army Staff, General Farouk Yahaya, a very thoroughbred professional, also like his counterpart in the Navy. And of course, the representation was very apt by Major General Victor Ezugu, another thoroughbred professional, someone who has made Nigeria proud by his innovations and inventions. And through the conference, we were able to learn a lot about what the Nigerian Army has been able to achieve in the last 2 years. You know, of course, there have been achievements before then when General Burate was in office, but luckily Nigeria has had a very able successor in the name of Farouk Yahaya. General Farouk is doing quite a lot also in terms of making Nigeria safer for everyone. Not just Nigeria, because if Nigeria is not safe, the rest of Africa will hardly be safe. Exactly. So what they are doing is not just for Nigeria, it's also for the whole of Africa.
Okay, let's hear a bit from what the Chief of Army Staff being represented by Major General Victor Ezugu has to say.
One of the achievements of regional collaboration in countering terrorism and insurgency in Africa is the resettlement of internally displaced persons back to their various homes. The resettlement effort through regional collaboration covers the support provided to IDPs to facilitate their safe return to their abode or resettlement to new homes and reintegration into the various communities and society. The Boko Haram insurgency, which started in 2009 in the northeast of Nigeria, has led to the destruction of many villages, loss of thousands of lives, as well as destruction of properties worth trillions of naira, particularly within the Lake Chad Basin area. As at 2021, over 200,000 internally displaced persons and refugees spread across the 4 sectors of the Multinational Joint Task Force has safely returned to their ancestral homes. Similarly, by the end of 2022, it is expected that 2,500 Central African Republic refugees will return to their ancestral homes in voluntary repatriation initiative facilitated by the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, Economic Community of Central African States, and the United Nations Refugee Agency in accordance with a tripartite agreement signed in 2019. Thus, the regional collaboration to combat terrorism and insurgency in Africa has ensured, to a very large extent, resettlement of internally displaced persons back to their homes and reintegration into the society.
Welcome back. We had it there. Really, Nigeria has done so well in terms of security. I must tell you, it's not because I'm a Nigerian or because I'm a patriotic Nigerian, but because I am passionate about security. I follow security trends all over the world. Nigeria can make bold to say is leading in terms of fight against terrorism and insurgency, because no nation, I tell you, that has been fighting this double-edged security challenge, and that has been able to tackle it within a short time in Nigeria, about 11 to 12 years. But we want them to do more. We want them to do better. They are doing, and they can do it with your support, with my support, and that is why we are doing our own part. Yes, let's go again to one of the climax, which is the presentation by the executive governor of Akwa Ibom State, talking about Udom Gabriel Emmanuel. He made the presentation about good governance, how to sustain security in Africa using good governance. You were there too, and you sat, monitored everything, and you were taking notes. Can you tell me, really, because before you spoke, everything pointed towards governance.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what your takeaway?
Yeah, His Excellency the Governor, I will call him my governor because I always admire him from a distance though. I know all the developmental strides that have taken place or that are taking place in Akwa Ibom under his stewardship. But most importantly, the points he brought to fore yesterday about the causative effects of insecurity. You know, until we treat those issues, just like General Burate has also raised in his presentation, until we treat the issue from its very foundation, we may not be able to really find kind of lasting solution. So what the governor of Akwa Ibom has achieved yesterday was to try to bring to fore the issue, the causative effects, that until they are addressed, social governance, until you have good governance, Africans will continue to be restive, and there will still be this issue of migration from Africa to other parts of the world, people seeking greener pasture. Some will remain in Africa, causing all sorts of trouble. These are the causative effects that the governor and His Excellency General Burate talked about, and which I believe the political leadership all over Africa need to do more in terms of the major takeaways. So many issues the governor emphasized.
Using the state, what he's doing in the state as an example,
exactly.
So much projects he's able to do,
exactly.
and all that.
Exactly.
Let's hear from him. Talk to us.
I believe the provision of good governance, the passion for selfless service by our leaders, it must be selfless service. It must not be partisanship any longer. The idea of where everything is done based on which political party you belong to must be done within Africa. We must look at how to work based on what your capacity. What do you have to offer? There are a lot of people who have a lot to offer to many countries in Africa, but because they belong to a different political party, they are not considered. It must be, it must be that selfless service, the elimination of corruption and wastages. There's also so much wastages in Africa, and getting everyone involved and enjoining them to take ownership of their future and those of their children yet unborn, and are the sure and certain ways to sustain peace and ensure security. It is a model that has worked for us in Akwa Ibom State, and I think it can work elsewhere too.
He could talk so well because it's something that he's doing. When you are the architect of something, you can be able to express it, and that is why everybody They gave him a standing ovation after his presentation. And throughout his presentation, we really need leaders to be accountable and to be able to articulate what they are doing properly so that people will understand. Yes, let's go to the issue of leadership, which really is very, very important, because without leadership, everything boils down to the issue of leadership. Let's hear again, let's hear from what His Excellency, Lieutenant General Ambassador Tukur Yusuf retired, but still very, very active. He's so passionate with Security Watch Africa. Security Watch Africa makes people to say that this is one man that we're also passionate of, because he has done so well for Africa, not just Nigeria, because he was in the Multinational Joint Task Force. He was a member of the African Union technical team to come out with the standby force. So much he has done. So let's hear from him. Then you will give us your take about him. All right.
You will agree with me that the insurgency and terrorism are twin monsters that have been unleashed on Africa with devastating consequences on its development and progress. The causes, challenges, and the lessons arising therefrom are multifaceted that will require multi-pronged approach to tackling it. The African Union and the various regional organizations need to devote more time and resources towards addressing and finding African solutions. The over-reliance on foreign aid and support need to be critically looked into. Africa cannot be said to be independent as long as it continues to rely on foreign support to do virtually everything under the sun.
You had him there. There's nothing more to add. Let me just find out from you.
Okay.
What is your take here again?
Well, you see, I'm not surprised, because General Buratai is someone who has achieved things that are unprecedented in the annals of the Nigerian military, not just the Nigerian army. He is on record to be the longest serving so far army chief, and he utilized every moment of his stewardship to achieve great and greater things for Nigeria. And of course, if he had not presented that paper, it will have seemed to me that it will have been something like shaving someone's head in his absence, because this is someone who has seen it all, you know. And on the sidelines of the event yesterday, I had a talk with some officers and soldiers who told me that this was a general, his own life, precious life, been with them in the trenches, commanding them physically and actively and exemplary, you know, doing a lot in terms of ensuring a safer Africa, not only safer Nigeria. So his presentation on counterinsurgency is, well, I wouldn't want to rate and call one presentation the best or the other one the second best, but certainly is excellent. He talked about his own experience as army chief of the biggest army in Africa, you know, and he articulated it very, very well. So the presentation was very excellent, and I believe African leaders have a lot to learn from his experience, from what he from his delivery, from his experience. And that paper is one paper, his presentation, and that of the Chief of Naval Staff, and of course the Army Chief of Nigeria, are some of the papers that I believe African leaders, the commanders-in-chief, should be able to read and learn a lot more about how to combat insecurity in our continent. Yeah.
Thank you so much for
Thank
your
you so
time.
much.
It's a
Thank
pleasure.
you. Thank
I
you.
hope you'll be able to find time to unwind a bit.
Okay.
It's a lovely place.
Yeah, very, very lovely. Very lovely. Thank you so much. It's a privilege.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We must just end because really time is not on our side. There are so many issues to take away from the conference, the 17th Africa Security Watch Awards and Conference here in Banjul, the Gambia. But anyway, we'll give you more details as subsequent editions of this program. But they all boil down towards security and safety. Until you come here again next week, I say thanks for staying tuned and bye for now.